Am I the arsehole for putting a padlock on my son's bedroom door? My 41F son 22 left for basic training last Friday. I cried for days and I miss him very much. He called once to let me know that he was safe, but I most likely will not get to talk to him for the next 12 weeks. I went to the grocery store on Sunday, and when I came home I heard my daughter 16F screaming at my middle son 20M. When I went to see what was going on, I saw my middle son carrying a laundry basket full of my oldest son's clothes and his PS4. I also saw my husband 42M, all of my kids' bio father, putting the rest of his things in garbage bags. My daughter was screaming at both of them to put everything back and that it was Trev's things and not garbage. I asked both my husband and middle son what the fuck was going on. My son said that his father told him he could take what he wants. At that point I was livid with both of them and said that this was still Trev's home, and that until he told me otherwise, those were still his things and they will be kept in his room until he asks for them. My husband said that it didn't matter, Trev was a man now and his home would be wherever the military sent him. I told my husband that he was being cruel to Trev and that this would always be his home. My daughter was hysterical at this point and I told them both that they were despicable for treating his room and things like a shopping mall. The next day I went out and bought a padlock for his bedroom door and I have one key in the glove box of my car, the other will be taken to my office and locked in my filing cabinet. When my husband saw the padlock he flipped and told me that I was being overdramatic and that this was his house and he would just take a crowbar and pry it off. I told my husband and Jeff that if I saw either of them in that room again or found that someone tampered with that lock, they would both be out of the house. My husband is now calling me a grieving war widow, and my middle son is saying that he is entitled to the bigger room now that Trev is gone. Meanwhile, all of this drama is making Trev leaving harder on my poor daughter who is truly having a hard time with her big brother being gone. My husband is demanding I take the lock off of the door and let him clean out the room. I refused to do this and told him that the only way the room is getting cleaned out would be if Trev no longer wants to live here. Am I the arsehole for putting a padlock on the door? Update. I went to bed shortly after I wrote this post, and wanted to thank everyone for commenting, even the negative ones. To answer a few questions. 1. I spoke to Jeff this morning and asked if he had talked to Trev prior to him leaving about taking his PS4 and clothes and he admitted he did not. I told him that he was stealing his brother's belongings and he had until noon today to return all of them. He agreed, reluctantly to return everything. I told Jeff that if I saw him near his brother's room again, he would have to find some place else to live because I would not have my children stealing from each other, especially when the other child is not here. 2. I spoke to my husband this morning as well and asked why he did what he did. He has admitted that he is having a difficult time with Trev being gone and any time he walked past his room he was reminded that he isn't here anymore. He broke down and said that he missed him and he was sorry. He too agreed that what they were doing was wrong and said that he would put everything back the way it was until Trev came home and decided what to do with his things, what he planned to take when he got to his permanent duty station. My husband is former Navy, and he said that he is not there to protect his son and he is scared. He has seen combat and does not want his son to have to see the things that he saw. 3. The entire family agreed that Trev's room would be left the way it was while he was in boot camp, training school, especially since he was only able to take the clothes on his back and his phone when he left for basic. The agreement was that when he was sent to his permanent duty station, he would make an inventory of the items he needed and we would store, donate what he did not want and ship the things that would not fit into a suitcase. 4. My daughter and her bubba are very close. This transition has been very hard on her, which in turn has made things worse for me because not only am I concerned about my son, but I am concerned about my poor daughter who is clearly struggling with him being gone. My husband and I discussed it and we think it is wise to find her someone to talk to or even a sibling support group for active duty military where she can go and talk about her feelings and fears. Not the arsehole. Will your other son have all of his things put into trash bin bags too? You know, since he's a man as well. If your middle son wants a bigger room, he is welcome to find one in his own apartment, with his new roommate, your husband. Best of luck to your son, and thank him for his service. Stay strong, mama. Not the arsehole. I feel like a room switch could be negotiated with your sons in 12 weeks, but there's no reason at all for them to be stealing and throwing away Trev's things. They're still his things. Even if he ends up living elsewhere, one assumes he, wants his stuff. Info. Trev was a man now. What does that make your 20-year-old son? Is he getting all his possessions taken away too? Not the arsehole. Why are they acting like he's gone for good? Won't he come back and need a room to stay in plus want all his belongings and civilian clothes? They're acting like he forfeited his belongings. I can understand moving his stuff to the smaller room and doing a switch since he's no longer living there, but treating his stuff like garbage or a free-for-all is just rude and weird. Like, it's not like he moved out and left stuff he didn't want to bother with. You're not allowed to just take all your things to the army with USMH. Not the asshole. Info. Why did nobody talk about what you wanted to do with the bedroom before your son left? If your husband and son wanted to use the room after your other son left, they should have talked to him about it and come up with a solution rather than doing it after he was out of the house. Your husband and younger son are entitled assholes. You are not. Your son is away and will be back. They treating it like HES died and who cares what happens to his things. I hope your son returns and finds out what they did and takes all his things and moves out. It's not like HES forever in military never to go back to a CIV life. Not the asshole, and the people saying that the room doesn't need to be kept like a shrine are correct. The things can be packed and put into storage until kiddo comes back or needs it for where he's going. Dad and son are fucking entitled assholes. This would be divorce-worthy to me, telling me that my son's things aren't to be respected and making big household decisions without speaking to me. Seriously, who does that? Not the asshole. I wish my mom had done this when I went to boot camp. I came home for 2 weeks after boot camp and apprenticeship training and everything was gone. I was in my uniform for about a day and a half when my sisters gave me some of their clothes. I didn't even have a bed. It was depressing. I left for my duty station early. I couldn't be in a place that was not home anymore. I have not gone back. It's been over 25 years. You can't take your stuff to basic training. He is going to want his stuff when he gets stationed somewhere. Military guys get to wear civilian clothes when not on duty. Often when stationed, the military pays to move their stuff with them. I've had 2 brothers in the military and my sister's husband served too, so I kinda have seen the basic training then moving on thing go on. Granted, the son is likely gonna par down his belongings, but it should be his decision what he keeps and what goes. Not the asshole. I can't imagine why they think they're entitled to his possessions. That would be a huge betrayal of your son. Good for you and your daughter for protecting his belongings. Not the asshole, and he will be needing his things once he's out. The military won't make him trash his things and buy him new ones. Like WTF. Your husband sounds boorish and your other son is a baby. Stop their traumatizing of your daughter and tell them they can move Trev's stuff to a storage on their dime. Not the asshole. How cruel, selfish and unempathetic. I'm really shocked. Not the asshole. That is so messed up. And honestly sounds like they were trying to justify theft. Not the asshole. What a terrible point of view your husband and son have. Your reaction seems appropriate and mature. If your son plans to not move back, it would make sense to let your younger son move in, and then have a spare room, etc. However, your elder son deserves to be integral in that decision and have a say in what happens to his property. Maybe he is fine having his possessions stored in bins or something. Bagging his stuff up without permission and stealing things is completely inappropriate. Not the asshole. Why is your husband thinking? Your son's stuff is his stuff. It's not like he moved out and left some stuff. He couldn't take anything with him. Your 20M son is old enough to get a job and move out if he wants a bigger room or a PS4. Take care of your sweet daughter. Have family in the military is hard, especially with current world issues. Not the asshole, but the best compromise would be to put your older son's possessions in storage until he returns or wants them shipped to his eventual permanent residence. Your husband and younger son definitely overreacted and went full-on destruction, elimination without thinking about the possible consequences of their actions. Not the asshole, but our kids still have their rooms and their stuff in our home, where they grew up, despite the fact that they have homes of their own. Your husband's attitude is kind of brutal. Did they get along? Info, WTF. Has your husband had issues with Trevor in the past? Alternatively, could this be a weird grief response? Not the asshole. What the fuck is wrong with your family? Not the asshole. Honestly, throw the husband in the trash. As for your adult 20-year-old son, he can either grow up and realize what he did was wrong or join his dad in the trash can. Not the asshole, but what was going to happen with Trev's room? Stuff definitely should have been decided upon before he left. Not the asshole. You did the right thing protecting your son while he was not around. He's still part of the family even if he is out of the house for a moment. His things are his, that's that. NTA I would get cameras on that room and if push comes to shove get a safety deposit box on your eldest son's valuables. Also kick the 20-year-old out regardless since he thinks he can do that. And #X200B. Keep us updated. Is your husband Trev's real dad? Because honestly I don't see a real dad doing this shit to his son, but then again this thread taught me anything can happen in this world. You are not the asshole and a good mother. Not the asshole but leaning towards Esh. This post sounds very emotionally charged and something tells me that everyone's delivery, including your own, may be a major issue. This seems like a really turbulent household. So Trev gets to come home to all his shit gone. Even if he moves to his next duty station, in another country, he's still gonna want his shit. Was he warned in advance to put everything he wanted to keep in a storage unit, or is he spontaneously written off as dead? What the fucking hell is wrong with your husband and other son? Jeff is 20, a full-grown, tax-paying adult who can find his own place to live if he doesn't want to be respectful. I would open your front door as wide as possible and escort your husband and middle son out of it. I was an army brat and I find it extremely disrespectful and disgusting that your husband and middle son think because the oldest went to basic training that they can pillage his room. Screw them. Not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. God, not the asshole, but your husband is seriously messed up. Not the asshole. Why the hell your husband and son behave as if Trev died? Did they disowned him or what? I really don't understand the logic behind this. He is in basic, even when he gets sent somewhere after, he is gonna want his stuff. Like it's messed up they think they can take it when he is only out for a few months. Not the asshole but your husband and other son certainly are. The fact that they weren't just switching rooms just boggles my mind. Not the asshole, veteran here. We generally don't let this sort of thing go. I've lost count of how many times I've heard of people joining the army or deploying overseas and having all of their belongings stolen by people they trusted. You absolutely did the right thing here. You save his relationship with his father. I'm 31, one of my close friends is almost 60 and still tells me about his dad giving all his stuff away when he joined the army every month or two. 40 years later it still crosses his mind at least weekly, and he never forgave his father. It was totally unnecessary. Info. Did eldest son enter the military by full choice, or under get out of my house energy from your husband? Is the younger son the golden child in your husband's view? Is eldest the same in yours? Not the asshole. I don't know anyone who went into the military, but most of the people I went to school with went on to university and I would say almost all of their stuff and rooms were kept for them at least in the first year when they were in a dorm. Leaving for 3 months on a temporary basis is so short for your husband and son to act this way. Unless this was discussed with Trevor, it is such a short time to wait to see if he makes it through basic training and then know where his life will lead. Again, at that point it would be normal to talk to Trevor and tell him what you and your husband's expectations are for his stuff and room as it is your house, and he would make a decision about where to store his things. Pretty simple. No. Not the asshole at all, your judgment is correct Imo. If Trev owns them, he should be the one to decide what to do with his belongings, not his father who has the stupid logic of, I'm the house owner, I do whatever the hell I want, or, I'm his father, I have the choice to do what I want with his stuff. Why are they both acting like your son is dead? Do they not realize that at some point in time he will be coming back? My husband's parents did this when he went to basic. When he came home on leave afterward, intending to get his clothes and possessions, they were gone. It messed him up for a while. Me, on the other hand, I came home after basic, packed my car, and got rid of everything else. Your son will have an opportunity to come home on leave and get stuff, and the military will provide one home of record movers in, moving stuff from your home off record to your duty station. Thank you for protecting your son. At least give him the chance to take what is important to him. You lose your individuality in basic, and it's nice to get a piece of that back with your old, before, clothes. Wait. So is your husband saying 22 is a man and 20 isn't? Not the asshole. You just saved your relationship with your oldest son. Maybe he is a better person than I am, but if I came back from risking my life for my country to see that my family is basically stealing and ransacking my shit like I never mattered, I promise you I would probably never speak to them again. Thank you for the update. It's nice to know there are no assholes here in the family, just everyone trying to deal. So your husband was having trouble coming to grips with your son joining the military, so he decided to rip the family apart emotionally and physically. Holy hell. Not the asshole. I read this after the update. I am so happy that you were able to calmly talk to everyone and figure all of it out. Tell your husband that I am very proud of him for opening up and being vulnerable. That's not easy for many men to do. I am so happy that your family was able to see and admit their wrongdoing and grief, even though it manifested itself in a bad way. You sound like a very loving and close family. Moms are the best. Sigh. Jeff is 20 and also a man. Have you asked your husband when you're packing his things and sending him on his way? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Even if the middle son thinks he's entitled to the larger room, it's still his room and his stuff regardless, and nobody's stuff should be thrown out, especially when they are preparing to defend their country. Also, your husband and middle sound extremely toxic and entitled, so not absolutely not the asshole, but your husband and middle definitely are. Not the asshole. I would tell both your husband and other son that if they dare to try to remove your older son's belongings again, your first phone call will be to the police and you will file a police report against them. There will be no negotiation on this. You might want to get your son to give you power of attorney to handle his affairs back home. Also consider getting a lawyer to prepare a cease and desist order against them. Consider renting a small storage unit and relocate all of your older son's belongings there, and do not let your husband or son know where it is. Not the asshole. When he gets to where he is stationed or even Moss School, he'll want his clothes and game systems. They can have that stuff there. Just because he's gone doesn't mean all his stuff is up for grabs. My husband's room was left untouched till he got to his duty station. Then we packed up what he wanted and shipped it to him. You guys can figure out his room once you're done grieving and he is ready for his things. Like, damn. When he's done boot camp, if he can come home, I'm sure he'd love to sleep in his old room and have that sense of normalcy. Not the asshole. There is something seriously wrong with your husband. Seems like he is ready to totally erase Trev from his life. I have no idea why that is, but you should try and figure it out. It could be a way of dealing with grief, or it could be him just being heartless and cruel. Either way, this is information you really want to know. Not the asshole. I am glad your husband has come around and that Jeff is returning what he stole.